Hello everyone, this is Fight Master Valeri Lilov, and in our lecture today I'm going to show you one very interesting trap in the Lopez. It is called a Tarrasch trap because it was actually prepared and analyzed by one of the greatest chess masters on the 20th century, Siegbert, a German grandmaster who developed the principles of the positional play after Steinitz, and he actually has a very had a very big potential in these years. So this game was played between Siegbert Tarrasch and the Austrian master Georg, and it's a very interesting one. So let me introduce you to that. E4, E5, Knight F3, Knight C6, Bishop to B5. Oh, these are the initial moves of the Lopez, and now actually Black has a couple of choices he can do. One of them is to play A6 and to go to the main lines of the Lopez, and the other ones are to play Knight to F6 and to go into the other lines in Lopez. Also very interesting and very complicated, the lines of the open Lopez, and also there is a very interesting variation for Black to play the Steinitz defense. Steinitz, which was the first world champion, actually prepared the system, and it has a very good reputation for a very long time. So this system arises after first move D6, and now Black's main idea of the move is to protect the pawn on E5, and with this to remove the threat White has with Bishop takes C5, C6, and Knight takes E5 in some moments. So D6 is an interesting line, but in the modern time, in our days, the people are choosing to play here A6 because after that White is forced to play Bishop to A4, and then Black plays D6, and here is the point. Now after D4, Black has the way to face the D4 move in a very strong way. So it is not a good idea for White to play D4, but instead of this one, the theory recommends here for White to play C3, and then in some of the further moves to prepare the pawn to D4 and to have this pawn on C3 supporting White's center. So D4 is not a good opportunity to play now, because Black can actually play B5, and White is forced to go back with the bishop to B3. Black can take then the central pawn on D4, and White is experiencing a lot of problems. Well, after Knight takes D4, E takes D4, and Queen takes D4 here, White actually falls into the Noah's Ark trap, a very interesting trap variation, and Black has the chance to win a piece after C5. And when White's queen retreats, Black has the idea to play C4. A move like Queen to D5 doesn't also help much to White, because Black can simply protect the pawn on F7 with Bishop to E6, a tempo move attacking White's queen, and in case White plays, let's say, Queen to C6 with a check, Bishop D7 can be played, and after Queen D5, C4, and White's bishop on B3 will be trapped. So this is the Noah's Ark trap, very interesting line, and actually after E takes D4, it is best for White to play Bishop to D5, simply to get out this bishop from the dangerous position on B3. And now after Rook B8, this Queen takes D4 is becoming possible, because C5 and C4 is not a dangerous idea. But I think that if Black simply develops the knight on F6, it still gets really very good position. In some of the next moves, Black will prepare Bishop to E7 and castle on the short side, and in some moment he could threat this bishop with knight takes D5, he could take actually, and play Bishop B7 with a very good position. And a pair of bishops in an open position. So that's why white it's not a good idea to play d4 here and c3 instead of this move. And this is the main idea why the variation with a6 and then d6 is called the modern Stanius defense. And if, as it was in the game, black plays d6 straight away, it is the old Stanius, the classical Stanius defense, which is not considered to be so good in our days, because the theory considers that white is getting a really very good position, a very active position in the pawn formation arising after a couple of moves. It's always very good for white. So black plays d6 and white plays d4 here, and now the North arc trap doesn't work, because if black plays now a6, then white will get the chance to take first on c6 with a check, and then to take on e5. So this is the main threat of d4, and black has actually somehow to prevent it. Well, he can do with bishop d7, and this is it was being played in the game, and now bishop takes c6 doesn't work, because black will simply recapture with the bishop, and white's pawn on e4 will be under attack, and for this reason white will get no chance to take the pawn on e5. So if white wants to somehow to attack black's center, he must first to protect the central pawn on e4 with some moves. So after bishop d7, here white plays knight to c3, simply protecting the pawn on e4 and creating the potential threat of bishop takes c6 and d takes e5 on the next move. So black played here knight to f6 with an idea to develop the knight, and together with this to renew the idea after bishop takes c6 to recapture with the bishop and create an attack over white's central pawn on e4. So knight f6, and white castles short, a logical move, developing move. Black also develops the bishop to e7, and here white plays rook to e1, a nice move. The main idea behind that move is now white has already two pieces looking at the pawn on e4, so they're protecting it, and now the threat of bishop takes c6 followed by d takes e and knight takes e5 winning a pawn is a real threat already. So black has to take some defensive sources against that. So rook to e1, and what should black do? Well, one opportunity for black to play is e takes d4, but after e takes d, white has the knight takes d4 taking, and when black plays a short castle, white could simply develop the dark square bishop with bishop to f4, and next moves probably to go some nice moves like h3, queen d2, rook a to d1, just centralizing the heavy pieces, and I think that it will be a bit difficult position for black to play, since always this pawn formation with pawns on e4 and d6 is a difficult one for black, and in some structures of King's Indian it is being allowed from black, but then the bishop is most frequently placed on g7, so it creates really good potential on the long a1 h8 diagonal, and also black has in these kinds of positions the chance to play rook e8 and probably in some moment to prepare c6 when the knight goes back. So this is very different from the King's Indian, and I think that black has a hard time until he gets a good piece formation development here. So bishop f4, and white is standing better.